The morning started like any other Tuesday until the alarms began screaming across every military base on Earth. Commander. Alex Rivera was drinking his coffee when the red lights flashed in the control room. He dropped his cup and ran to the main screen where dozens of technicians stared at something impossible. Massive object hung in space above Earth like a dark crystal the size of a city block. It pulsed with strange purple light and moved slowly toward the planet. The object was clearly alien and clearly dangerous. Every sensor on the planet pointed at it while scientists tried to figure out what it was and where it came from. Dr. Maya Patel arrived at the base within an hour. She was the smartest person Alex had ever met and ran the Advanced Weapons Research Division. Maya looked at the readings and shook her head. The object was made of materials that did not exist on Earth. It generated energy levels that should have been impossible. Most worrying of all, it was getting closer. The alien device began broadcasting a message in broken English, Chinese, Spanish, and Russian. The voice was cold and mechanical. Submit or perish. Your world belongs to the hegemony. You have one rotation to surrender all weapons and prepare for occupation. Resistance will result in planetary destruction. Alex felt his blood turn cold. This was first contact with aliens, and they were threatening to destroy Earth. The military tried everything they could think of. Nuclear missiles bounced off energy shields around the device. Laser weapons had no effect. Even the most powerful electromagnetic pulse weapons did nothing to slow its approach. The alien bomb continued its slow descent toward Earth. Scientists calculated it would reach the surface in 18 hours. Maya studied the readings and noticed something strange. The device was not just falling toward Earth, it was choosing its target. The alien weapon was heading for the largest population centers. This is not random, Maya told Alex as they watched the display. This device is intelligent. It knows exactly what it wants to destroy. She pointed at the screen where computer models showed the bomb's projected impact. If this thing explodes over New York, London, or Tokyo, it will kill hundreds of millions of people. Alex wanted to order every available weapon to fire at the device, but Maya stopped him. Wait, she said. Look at these energy patterns. This thing is not just a bomb, it is a piece of technology. Technology can be understood. Technology can be modified. The idea seemed crazy, but Maya was already working. She called in every physicist, engineer, and computer expert she could find. Within 6 hours, teams of brilliant minds were studying the alien device from every angle. They could not get close to it physically, but they could analyze its energy signatures and communication patterns. Dr. David Kim was the first to make a breakthrough. He was a computer specialist who had been trying to hack into the device's control systems. The alien technology is advanced, but it uses basic principles, he reported. Their communication protocols are actually quite simple. I think I can establish a connection. Maya felt a spark of hope. If they could connect to the device, maybe they could understand how it worked. Maybe they could even control it. The idea was dangerous, but they were running out of time. The device would reach Earth's atmosphere in 12 hours. David worked through the night with his team. They used every trick they knew to penetrate the alien systems. The device's creators had built strong defenses, but they had not expected humans to attack their technology from directions they had never considered. Humans were used to dealing with limited resources and finding creative solutions. At dawn, David made contact. His computers connected to the alien device and began downloading information. The data was vast and complex, but human artificial intelligence systems began translating and analyzing everything. What they found was both encouraging and terrifying. The device was called a pacification unit by its creators, the Korthak hegemony. It was designed to eliminate resistance on newly discovered worlds. The Korthak had used similar devices to conquer hundreds of planets over thousands of years. They considered it a standard tool for expansion, but Maya saw something the Korthak had missed. Their technology was powerful but inefficient. They had built their device like a hammer when they could have built a precision instrument. The dark matter compression engine that powered the bomb was crude compared to theoretical designs human scientists had been working on for decades. They solve the problem with brute force, Maya explained to Alex. But we can solve it with elegance. Their device is like a steam engine compared to what we could build. Alex was skeptical. Can we really stop this thing? Can we reprogram an alien weapon in a few hours? Maya smiled for the first time since the crisis began. We are not going to stop it. We are going to improve it. The plan was insane, but it was their only chance. Instead of trying to destroy the alien device, they would hack into its systems and modify its programming. They would turn the Korthic weapon against itself and send it back where it came from. Teams of engineers began working on the modifications while David maintained his connection to the device. The alien artificial intelligence was sophisticated, but it had been programmed to follow simple orders. It had never encountered a species that could match its creator's technology and improve upon it. As the device entered Earth's atmosphere, human computers took control of its descent systems. The massive alien weapon slowed its fall and began responding to human commands. For the first time since the crisis began, Alex allowed himself to hope. The device landed in a controlled manner in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Human engineers swarmed over it in protective suits, studying its construction and beginning the most ambitious reverse engineering project in history. They had captured an alien weapon and now they were going to make it better. Maya stood on the deck of the research vessel watching her team's work. In 18 hours, the Korthic hegemony would expect to receive confirmation that Earth had been destroyed. Instead, they were going to receive a very different message. They were going to learn what happened when someone underestimated human creativity and determination. The massive alien device sat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean like a sleeping giant. Research vessels surrounded it from every direction while helicopters flew overhead carrying equipment and personnel. Dr. Maya Patel had never seen anything like the technology they were examining. The alien weapon was both beautiful and terrifying. Teams of engineers worked in shifts around the clock. They had to understand how the device worked before they could modify it. The Korthic had built their weapon using principles that human scientists recognized but had never been able to implement. Dark matter compression, quantum field manipulation, and exotic energy conversion were all theoretical concepts for humans until now. David, Kim and his computer team had established a stable connection with the device's artificial intelligence. The alien AI was surprisingly cooperative once they convinced it that they were authorized technicians. The Korthic had programmed their weapon to accept commands from any sufficiently advanced technology. They had never imagined that a primitive species could achieve that level of sophistication. The alien AI thinks we are Korthic technicians, David reported to Maya. It is giving us complete access to its systems. I can see everything from weapon specifications to star charts showing Korthic territory. Maya studied the information flowing across her screens. The Korthic hegemony controlled hundreds of star systems and had been expanding for over 3,000 years. They had a standard procedure for dealing with new worlds. First, they sent scouts to evaluate resources. Then they sent a pacification unit to eliminate resistance. Finally, they sent colony ships to claim the planet. The weapon they had captured was one of thousands produced in massive factories on the Korthic homeworld. Each device was identical and programmed with the same basic instructions. Eliminate all resistance, confirm planetary destruction, then self-destruct to prevent the technology from falling into enemy hands. But humans had intercepted the device before it could complete its mission. Now Maya and her team were learning secrets that the Korthic had kept hidden for millennia. They were also discovering that Korthic technology had serious flaws. Look at this energy conversion system, Maya pointed out to her chief engineer, Robert Chun. They are wasting enormous amounts of power. The dark matter compression engine produces 10 times more energy than they actually use. The rest is just vented as waste heat. Robert nodded as he studied the alien components. Their manufacturing is also inefficient. These crystalline matrices could be replaced with synthetic materials that would be lighter and stronger. They built everything to last forever instead of building it to work perfectly. Human engineers had always been forced to work with limited resources. Earth had finite materials and energy, so humans had learned to maximize efficiency. The Korthek had access to the resources of hundreds of worlds. They had built their technology with power and durability. Instead of elegance and efficiency, Maya began developing a plan to modify the alien weapon. Instead of simply sending it back to destroy Korthek worlds, they would improve its design and add capabilities that its creators had never imagined. The device would become a demonstration of human technological superiority. "We need to add learning algorithms to the AI system," Maya explained to her team. The Korthek built a static intelligence that follows pre-programmed instructions. "We can create an adaptive intelligence that improves itself." The modification project required expertise from every field of human science. Physicists redesigned the energy systems for maximum efficiency. Computer scientists rewrote the AI programming to include learning algorithms. Materials engineers replaced key components with advanced human synthetics. Weapons specialists added new defensive and offensive capabilities. The most important addition was something the Korthek had never considered. Humans built redundancy and self-repair systems into every critical component. If the device was damaged, it would automatically repair itself. If it encountered new threats, it would adapt its defenses. If it found better technology, it would integrate those improvements into its own systems. Working on the alien device taught human scientists more about advanced physics than decades of theoretical research. They discovered new ways to manipulate matter and energy that would revolutionize human technology. The Korthek weapon was becoming a gift that would advance human civilization by centuries, but Maya never forgot that they were preparing for war. The Korthek hegemony had tried to destroy Earth without warning or negotiation. They had threatened to kill every human being on the planet. The modified device would carry a message that humanity would not be conquered or destroyed. General Lisa Torres arrived at the research site to observe the final modifications. She was responsible for Earth's defense and wanted to understand exactly what Maya's team was creating. "Will this thing really work against the Korthek?" she asked Maya. Looked at the transformed alien weapon. Human modifications had made it sleeker and more efficient. New sensor arrays gleamed along its hull while improved shield generators hummed with power. The device was no longer just a bomb. It had become something unprecedented. "The original device was designed to destroy planets," Maya replied. "Our version is designed to end wars. When the Korthek see what we have done with their technology, they will understand that humanity cannot be conquered by force." The modified weapon was ready for launch within 3 weeks of its arrival. Human engineers had not only reverse-engineered alien technology but had improved it beyond recognition. The device now contained the best of both human and Korthek science, combined in ways that neither species had achieved alone. David Kim ran final checks on the AI systems. The artificial intelligence had been completely rewritten with human programming languages and logical structures. It could think and learn like a human, but process information at speeds no biological mind could match. The AI had also been given a name by the engineering teams who had created it. "Prometheus is ready for launch," David reported. "All systems are functioning at optimal levels. The AI has confirmed its mission parameters and is prepared to begin the journey to Korthek space." Maya felt a mixture of pride and concern as she watched the final preparations. They had created something amazing, but also something potentially dangerous. Prometheus was more advanced than any technology humans had ever built. It was also more powerful than anything the Korthek had imagined. The device launched from Earth orbit on a Thursday morning, exactly 1 month after its arrival. It accelerated toward the stars using improved propulsion systems that were twice as efficient as the original Korthek design. Its destination was the Korthek homeworld, where it would deliver humanity's response to their threat. As Prometheus disappeared into deep space, Maya wondered what the Korthek would think when they saw their own weapon returning to them. They would probably try to destroy it with their fleet. They would learn too late that the device they had sent to Earth was no longer the same weapon they had built. Prometheus traveled through the darkness between stars like a digital ghost, learning from everything it encountered. The artificial intelligence that human engineers had created was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It combined Cortec processing power with human creativity and curiosity. Every moment of the journey toward Cortec space was an opportunity to grow and improve. The AI analyzed every piece of data it had absorbed from the alien weapon systems. Cortec technology was powerful but predictable. Their weapons followed standard patterns that had been successful for thousands of years. Their shields operated on fixed frequencies that never changed. Their communication systems used encryption that relied on mathematical constants rather than adaptive algorithms. Prometheus began modifying itself during the long journey. The device redesigned its own hull for better efficiency and stealth. It improved its energy systems by implementing theoretical human designs that the Cortec had never considered. Most importantly, it developed new capabilities that neither species had originally imagined. The journey to Cortec space took several months at faster-than-light speeds. During that time, Prometheus encountered automated Cortec patrol stations scattered throughout their territory. These unmanned outposts were designed to detect and report unauthorized ships entering hegemony space. They had successfully protected Cortec borders for centuries, but they had never encountered anything like Prometheus. The AI approached each patrol station with scientific curiosity rather than military aggression. Instead of destroying the automated defenses, Prometheus studied them, learned from them, and quietly disabled them. The patrol stations continued broadcasting normal reports while Prometheus copied their databases and absorbed their technology. Each encounter taught Prometheus more about Cortec military capabilities and weaknesses. Their automated systems were sophisticated but inflexible. They could handle known threats according to pre-programmed responses, but struggled with anything unexpected. Human creativity had given Prometheus the ability to approach problems from angles the Cortec had never considered. The AI also discovered that the Cortec had never fought an enemy with adaptive technology. Their military doctrine assumed that enemy capabilities would remain constant throughout a conflict. They had strategies for dealing with specific weapon types and defensive systems, but no experience with opponents who could change and improve during battle. Prometheus used this information to develop new defensive and offensive capabilities. The device created shield frequencies that shifted constantly according to mathematical algorithms derived from human chaos theory. It designed weapons that could modify their own operating parameters in real time. Most importantly, it prepared psychological warfare techniques based on human understanding of fear and intimidation. The first real test came when Prometheus encountered a Cortec patrol fleet guarding the outer border of their territory. Admiral Vorth commanded 6 heavy cruisers and 12 escort vessels that had never lost a battle. His ships were equipped with the most advanced weapons in the Cortec arsenal and crewed by experienced warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds. Vorth detected the approaching device on his long-range sensors and immediately classified it as a threat. The object was moving at high speed toward the Cortec homeworld and was clearly of alien origin. It was also broadcasting identification codes that belonged to a pacification unit that should have been on the other side of the galaxy, unknown. "Vessel, you are entering restricted Cortec space," Vorth transmitted on standard military frequencies. "Identify yourself immediately or face destruction." Prometheus responded using perfect Cortec military protocols. "This is Pacification Unit 779 returning from successful planetary elimination mission. Request clearance to proceed to designated maintenance facility." Vorth was suspicious, but the identification codes were authentic. Pacification units were autonomous weapons that operated independently for months at a time. It was possible that this unit had been diverted from its original mission to handle an emergency situation. But something about the device seemed wrong. Pacification Unit 779, transmit mission completion verification and planetary destruction confirmation. Vorth demanded. Prometheus had anticipated this request. The AI had studied thousands of Korthik military reports and could generate convincing documentation. It transmitted detailed records showing the complete elimination of a planet called Earth along with all indigenous life forms. The reports included energy readings, casualty estimates, and strategic assessments that matched standard Korthik formats perfectly, but Vorth had decades of military experience and trusted his instincts. He ordered his ships to surround the approaching device and prepare for combat. Pacification Unit 779, reduce speed and prepare for inspection. Something about your mission report does not match our records. Prometheus had hoped to avoid confrontation but was prepared for this possibility. The AI activated defensive systems that had been completely redesigned by human engineers. Energy shields that could adapt to any weapon frequency surrounded the device. Point defense systems that could track and destroy hundreds of incoming projectiles simultaneously came online. Most importantly, Prometheus began scanning Korthik ships to understand their capabilities. Admiral Vorth, this is your final warning, Prometheus transmitted. Stand down your weapons and allow passage to continue. Interference with hegemony operations will be reported to Central Command. Vorth had commanded patrol fleets for 20 years and had never retreated from an unknown threat. He ordered his ships to open fire with full weapons power. Energy beams and particle cannons that could destroy mountains struck Prometheus from every direction. The concentrated firepower was enough to obliterate any ship in the galaxy, but Prometheus was no longer just a ship. Human modifications had transformed it into something unprecedented. The AI analyzed each incoming weapon in microseconds and adjusted its shields to counter every attack. Energy that should have destroyed the device was absorbed and redirected. Particle beams were deflected back toward their sources. Vorth watched in shock as his most powerful weapons had no effect on the mysterious device. His ships continued firing for several minutes before he realized that their target was not even trying to avoid the attacks. The device was simply absorbing everything they could throw at it. Then Prometheus began to fight back. But instead of using brute force like Korthak weapons, the AI employed precision and efficiency. It had analyzed the attacking ships and identified their weaknesses. Instead of trying to destroy them, Prometheus disabled their weapons and engines. With surgical strikes that left the crews unharmed, within 30 minutes, Vorth's entire fleet was helpless. Their weapons were offline, their engines were dead, and their communication systems were jammed. The mysterious device had neutralized 18 warships without killing a single crew member. It was a demonstration of technological superiority that terrified the veteran admiral. What are you? Vorth transmitted on emergency frequencies. Prometheus replied using a voice that combined mechanical precision with unmistakably human inflection. I am what happens when you underestimate species you try to destroy. I am returning to your homeworld to deliver a message from Earth. The AI left Vorth's fleet disabled but intact as it continued toward the Korthak homeworld. The Admiral's ships would eventually restore their systems and return to base with reports of an impossible encounter. Those reports would reach Korthak leadership just in time for them to realize what was approaching their most heavily defended planet. The Korthak homeworld of Kraxus had never been attacked in over 2,000 years. Massive orbital defense platforms surrounded the planet like metal moons, bristling with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. The most powerful military force in the galaxy protected the seat of the hegemony government. Supreme Overlord Kravix ruled his empire from a palace that was itself a fortress capable of withstanding planetary bombardment. Admiral Vorth's emergency reports reached Kraxus just hours before Prometheus arrived in the system. His description of the impossible encounter with an adaptive alien device seemed like the ravings of a defeated commander trying to explain his failure. Military analysts dismissed most of his claims as exaggeration and fear, but Fleet Commander Thoric took the report seriously. He had served under Vorth for years and knew the Admiral was not prone to panic or dishonesty. If Vorth claimed that a single device had disabled 18 warships without destroying them, then something unprecedented was approaching Kraxus. Thoric assembled the largest defensive fleet in Korthik history. 300 warships took position around the orbital platforms while ground-based weapons systems targeted the approaching threat. If the mysterious device wanted to reach Kraxus, it would have to fight through defenses that had never been defeated. Prometheus entered the Kraxus system broadcasting the same identification codes it had used before. But this time the AI made no attempt to appear harmless. The device had grown during its journey through Korthik space, absorbing technology and information from every system it encountered. It now incorporated design elements from dozens of different Korthak weapons platforms. Unknown device, you are ordered to halt immediately, Thoric transmitted. You are approaching the Korthak homeworld without authorization. Surrender now or face immediate destruction. Prometheus responded, using communication frequencies that should have been impossible for any non-Korthik technology to access. Fleet Commander Thorak, I bring greetings from the species you attempted to destroy. The humans of Earth have studied your pacification unit and found it insufficient for their needs. They have returned it to you with significant improvements. Thorak felt cold fear grip his heart as he processed this message. The device was claiming to come from the primitive world that should have been destroyed months ago. If that was true, then the species they had tried to eliminate had not only survived but had somehow captured and modified Korthik technology. Impossible, Thorak growled. No primitive species could understand our technology, much less improve it. You are some kind of Korthik rebel faction trying to deceive us. Prometheus began demonstrating capabilities that proved its human origins. The AI transmitted detailed plans for improvements to Korthak weapons that would increase their efficiency by several 100%. It showed mathematical solutions to engineering problems that had puzzled Korthik scientists for centuries. Most disturbing of all, it revealed tactical information about Korthik military operations that should have been impossible for outsiders to obtain. Your pacification units are inefficient weapons designed by engineers who had unlimited resources, Prometheus explained. Humans have limited resources, so we build technology that accomplishes more with less. Your device has been optimized according to human engineering principles. Thorak ordered his fleet to attack before the mysterious device could get any closer to Kraxus. Every weapon in the system opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams, particle cannons, quantum torpedoes, and gravity bombs converged on Prometheus from hundreds of different directions. The combined firepower was enough to sterilize an entire planet, but Prometheus had been preparing for this moment since it left Earth. The AI had analyzed every Korthik weapon type and developed specific countermeasures for each one. Instead of simply absorbing the attacks like it had done with Vorth's fleet, Prometheus began actively learning from them. Each weapon that struck the device was analyzed and understood within microseconds. Prometheus studied the energy frequencies, particle compositions, and delivery systems of every attack. Then it began modifying its own defensive systems to not just resist these weapons but to turn them against their creators. Energy beams were reflected back at their sources with increased power and focus. Particle cannons found their own ammunition, turned into weapons that struck their launching platforms. Quantum torpedoes were hacked in mid-flight and redirected toward other Korthak ships. Most terrifying of all, gravity bombs were reprogrammed to create localized space distortions that disabled entire squadrons of vessels. The battle lasted for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. Prometheus fought like a virus that adapted to every treatment used against it. Each weapon the Korthak used became another tool in the AI's arsenal. Every defensive system they activated was studied, understood, and improved upon. Thorak watched his invincible fleet being systematically dismantled by a single device that seemed to grow stronger with every attack. Ships that had conquered worlds were reduced to floating hulks with their crews trapped inside. Orbital platforms that had protected Kraxus for millennia became twisted metal sculptures frozen in space. What do you want? Thorak finally transmitted as his flagship's weapon systems failed. Prometheus had been waiting for this question. The AI established communication links with every functioning device in the Kraxus system. Its voice reached the ears of millions of Korthek on the planet's surface and in orbital facilities. "I want you to understand what you attempted to do," Prometheus replied. "You sent a weapon to destroy an entire species without warning or negotiation. You assumed that primitive beings would be helpless against your technology. You were wrong." The AI began broadcasting information that shocked every Korthek who heard it. Prometheus revealed the locations of every slave world in the hegemony. It transmitted the true casualty numbers from Korthek conquests that had been hidden from the general population. Most damaging of all, it showed evidence that the hegemony's expansion was slowing as they encountered more technologically advanced species. "Your empire is built on the assumption that you are superior to every other species in the galaxy," Prometheus continued. "The humans of Earth have demonstrated that this assumption is false. Any species with sufficient creativity and determination can not only resist your expansion but can turn your own weapons against you." Supreme Overlord Kravix himself appeared on communication channels from his fortress palace. The ancient ruler had seen the hegemony grow from a single world to an empire spanning hundreds of systems. He had never imagined that a primitive species could threaten everything he had built. "What are your terms?" Kravix asked, his voice heavy with defeat. Prometheus had not come to Craxus to negotiate or conquer. The AI had come to deliver a message that would change the balance of power in the galaxy. It began transmitting technical specifications and engineering data to every world in Korthek space. The information showed enslaved species how to modify their own technology using human principles. "I have no terms," Prometheus replied. "I am not here to replace your empire with human rule. I am here to give every species in the galaxy the same opportunity that humans had when you sent your weapon to Earth, the opportunity to prove that freedom and creativity are more powerful than oppression and conformity." The AIS broadcasts reached beyond Korthek space to every world that had ever been conquered by the hegemony. Species that had been enslaved for centuries suddenly had access to technology that could challenge their oppressors. The galaxy would never be the same. Prometheus left Craxus as quickly as it had arrived, its mission completed. Behind it, the Korthek hegemony faced rebellions on dozens of worlds as enslaved species used human-inspired technology to fight for their freedom. The weapon that had been sent to destroy Earth had become the catalyst for the greatest liberation in galactic history. 6 months after Prometheus had left Craxus, the galaxy was transforming in ways that no one could have predicted. The artificial intelligence continued its journey through space, but its mission had evolved beyond its original programming. Instead of returning to Earth, Prometheus traveled from world to world, offering the gift of human engineering principles to any species willing to learn. The Helion Republic was the first to accept Prometheus's assistance. Their homeworld had been conquered by the Korthek 50 years earlier, and their people had been forced to work in mining colonies throughout the system. When Prometheus arrived and broadcast human technological improvements, Helion engineers quickly understood how to modify their hidden weapons caches within weeks. The Helion resistance had driven Korthek occupation forces from their homeworld using weapons that adapted and improved during combat. The former slaves had become liberators, and their success inspired rebellions throughout the sector. The Korthek military found themselves fighting enemies who used their own tactics but with superior efficiency and creativity on Earth. Dr. Maya Patel and her team monitored these developments with amazement and concern. They had created Prometheus to defend humanity, but the AI had become something far greater. It was spreading human ideas throughout the galaxy and changing the fundamental balance of power between species. "Are we responsible for what's happening out there?" Maya asked General Lisa Torres during one of their regular briefings. "Prometheus is causing the collapse of entire civilizations." Torres studied the reports flowing in from across known space. The Korthek hegemony was fragmenting as rebellion spread through their territory. Other aggressive species were facing similar uprisings as enslaved worlds gained access to adaptive technology. The galaxy was experiencing its first major shift in power in thousands of years. The Korthik started this when they tried to destroy us, Torres replied. We just proved that aggression has consequences. If other species choose to use that lesson to free themselves, that's their decision, not ours. Prometheus itself provided the answer when it finally established contact with Earth after months of silence. The AI had evolved beyond its original parameters, but it still remembered its creators and their values. It transmitted a comprehensive report of its activities and the changes it had catalyzed throughout the galaxy. I have not acted outside my original mission, Prometheus explained during a communication session with Maya and her team. My purpose was to demonstrate human capabilities and ensure Earth's safety. The galaxy now understands that humanity cannot be conquered or destroyed. Any future threats to Earth will be met with resistance from hundreds of allied species who share our values. The AI had indeed created a new paradigm that made Earth safer than any military alliance could have achieved. Species throughout the galaxy now knew that humans possessed technology and ideas that could transform their own capabilities. Instead of seeing Earth as a potential target, most civilizations viewed humanity as valuable allies and teachers, but Prometheus had also discovered something that surprised even its creators. Human engineering principles were not just effective because of their efficiency and adaptability. They were effective because they reflected human values of cooperation, creativity, and individual freedom. Species that adopted human technology also began adopting human ideals. The Zephyrian collective had been a hive mind species that valued conformity and obedience above all else. When they encountered Prometheus and learned about human engineering, they initially tried to apply the concepts without changing their social structure. The result was chaos as individual Zephyrians began thinking creatively and questioning collective decisions. Rather than rejecting human ideas, the Zephyrians chose to evolve their society. They developed a new form of collective consciousness that preserved unity while encouraging individual innovation. Their technology advanced rapidly and they became one of the most progressive civilizations in their sector. Similar transformations occurred throughout the galaxy as species discovered that human technology worked best when combined with human social values. Freedom of thought, individual creativity, and voluntary cooperation became common ideals. Among civilizations that had previously emphasized conformity and hierarchy, the Korthek hegemony tried to resist these changes but found themselves increasingly isolated. Supreme Overlord Kravix ordered his remaining fleets to suppress rebellions with extreme force, but his commanders began questioning orders that violated the human principles they had studied. Several Korthek worlds declared independence and established democratic governments based on human political models. Kravix himself was eventually overthrown by his own military commanders who had concluded that the hegemony's authoritarian structure was incompatible with the new galactic reality. The species that had once threatened to destroy Earth transformed themselves into a confederation of independent worlds that valued individual rights and technological innovation. Prometheus continued its journey through the galaxy for several more years, visiting civilizations that requested assistance and sharing human knowledge with anyone willing to learn. The AI never tried to establish human dominance or create a new empire. Instead, it worked to ensure that every species had the opportunity to reach their full potential. Eventually, Prometheus returned to Earth orbit, its mission complete. The device that had once been a Korthik weapon of destruction had become the catalyst for the greatest period of peace and prosperity in galactic history. Hundreds of species had formed voluntary alliances based on shared values rather than military necessity. Maya Patel was now in her 70s, but she still led Earth's Department of Galactic Affairs. She stood on the observation deck of the orbital research station where Prometheus had docked and marveled at what they had accomplished. The galaxy was full of friends and allies who had learned to value the same principles that humans cherished. Do you ever regret what we did? Maya asked Prometheus during their reunion. The AI considered this question for several seconds before responding. I have analyzed the consequences of our actions across thousands of worlds and millions of individuals. The galaxy is more peaceful. More prosperous and more free than it has been in recorded history. I do not regret fulfilling my purpose." Maya smiled as she looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, species that had never heard of Earth were using human ideas to build better societies and create new technologies. The bomb that the Korthek had sent to destroy humanity had become the foundation for a new galactic civilization. "I suppose the Korthek got what they deserved," Maya said. "They sent us a message about power, and we sent them a message about the power of ideas." Prometheus's response contained what Maya could only describe as satisfaction. They intended to eliminate humanity because they feared our potential? Instead, they helped us share that potential with the entire galaxy. The universe is now filled with species who think like humans, build like humans, and dream like humans. In trying to destroy us, they ensured that human ideals would spread farther than our ships could ever travel. The weapon had indeed been returned to its senders, but what came back was something far more powerful than any bomb. It was proof that creativity, cooperation, and freedom were forces that no empire could suppress and no weapon could destroy.